Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Purposeful Conversations with Emmy here in the PAMI Code Facebook community. I hope wherever you are in the world that you're doing just fine. I think about a quarter of the world is now in lockdown. So, we're being together even if we are in isolation, we're still connected. And I'm really truly grateful that we have this space to still get connected. Now, today, we're going to talk a little bit about intuition. And I know we've been talking about intuition for the past couple of interviews already, but this time we're going to try to relate it to business. So for today, I've invited Tori Boats. She's a speaker and founder of Diva. Is that correct? Or Tori, Diva Entrepreneurial Association? Did I say that
I call it,
correctly?
I mispronounce it on purpose as diva, because who doesn't want to be a diva?
Of course, of course. But so glad that you've come and joined us. I yeah, with that diva phrase, what is that? I was curious when I actually saw that.
um, so I've been working with trying to understand how to take a different approach to the way I do business. I'm a classic overachiever, and it was burning me out and not really serving me well. I found that even though I felt highly successful, I also felt limited in my ability to be more successful. And no matter how much I pushed, I was limiting myself. So I decided to kind of go within and start to understand what was driving everything in my life and why am I doing all of this. And I came up with a new philosophy that I'm still playing with myself. And I thought, well, if I can couch it into an acronym or into a kind of a way of thinking about it, that would help me. And DIVA is what came out of that. And it stands for Dream, Elevate, Vision, and Amplify. So
Ooh,
I
I
use
love it.
that to guide. I use it to guide me.
Yeah, we have very similar paths. I can see parallels between you and me. I've considered myself a high achieving person as well. Like, oh my goodness, in school, always have to be the best in school,
Yes.
always have to get straight A's and everything. Continue to do post grad, write publications and so on and so forth. But at the same time, still have that feeling that I don't think that I'm doing well enough, that I'm not good enough. And it's that going within, because to be a high achiever, I don't know about you, but I've always been this left brained, logical,
Oh,
structured
yeah.
person. Everything has to be done in a certain order. And then there's a process and so on. And if things don't go according to plan, I go nuts. So I like that you actually try to tap into to tap within, and you came up with diva. In my case, I came up with pame, which is a Greek word. It stands for purpose, action, momentum, and energy. And I think there will be intersections with the diva and the pame together.
Yeah.
But what does that stand for with the diva? Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Sure. So it's actually let's see, it's a goddess. And I didn't know this because I'm not well versed in that whole space. And when I read the definition, I was playing with a bunch of words. And I read the definition of what that stands for, and it's someone who overcomes and shares her generosity and was rewarded with eternal life. And I thought, what an
Mm.
inspirational story. And it happens to fit some words and concepts I was already playing with. So for me, dream really stands to encourage me to believe that dreams can come true,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not just setting it out into the world and hoping that something happens to you. And there is action that you have to take, but you can't take that action if you don't believe that you deserve it. And I found that I didn't feel like I deserved happiness. I felt like if you would have asked me, well, do you deserve happiness? I would have said, well, of course. But that's not how I was acting in my life.
You
I
have to
was,
believe it and you have to reflect it,
yeah,
right?
definitely. And that whole dream, deserve, and versus earning the right to relax, earning the right to let your foot off the gas pedal was only after I had achieved a goal. And that's just a trap. And I've been
Mm.
learning a lot about the hedonic treadmill and sunk cost fallacy and a lot of different concepts that help you put words into what's happening to you. So for me, the dream piece of it, the deserving, is all about checking in with how I feel. How do I feel inside? I've learned that I was leading my entire life based on false beliefs, limiting beliefs, and go, go, go. Busyness to ignore how I felt and ignore the underlying emotions driving everything that I was doing. It was almost like I was on autopilot for
Mm.
somebody else's vision of how you're supposed to live. And I thought that was what you were supposed to do, find a model of success and mimic it, of course. That was until I didn't have any goals left that I wanted to go after. I couldn't find my inspiration.
What's next?
Um,
When you reach the top, then what?
yes, it's exactly what I ran into. And I wasn't feeling confident. I wasn't feeling, um, like you mentioned, where you don't think you're good enough. And
Mm.
I didn't know. So I was swimming in shame and swimming in worthlessness. And
I'm
I am
guessing
not
that you
worthy.
were also exhausted by that time because, to get to the point where you are, and especially with the lack of self belief, you had to really push yourself because I'm guessing, and because I'm coming, this is coming from my own experience, because of the self-doubt and the low self-worth, you feel as if you really have to work 100 times more than the others, because if you don't, you're gonna fail. Or it's very similar to the imposter syndrome as well, that because of the low self-worth, the low self-esteem, because you want to achieve as well, you really have to push yourself really hard, put in as much hours, as much effort as you can to get where you want to be, and that's not sustainable. You'll burn yourself out in the process.
Yeah, I definitely tired, exhausted, um, the like. It got pretty dark there for a while.
Yeah.
Um, yep. So that's the
The
D, which
dream.
is the yep the dream, which is about connecting with that feeling and putting belief behind it. And that's what elevate is to me. So elevate is to elevate your beliefs, elevate others. I find that when you give to somebody, it really helps you find a purpose and a value and a worth, that you're contributing to something that matters. And when your goals are focused on money and how much more money can I get, and when your belief is money is the way to happiness, and you can hear all the time that money doesn't buy happiness,
Mm.
but that doesn't replace the fact that money is important, and money buys you things that make you happy, like the
Mm-hmm.
experiences that you want to afford. But when you have nothing else driving behind that kind of a goal, it's very empty.
That's right.
um, right, so elevating that is about elevating yourself, elevating others, elevating your beliefs.
There's a
And I
deeper purpose
kind of think
other
about
than
that
just
here.
having money. Yeah, and
Hmm.
with for me, with the PAM, it's that sense of purpose. You need to know your why, and it's more than just, accumulating
Yeah.
money. It's more than just getting recognition, or it's actually having a sense of you are on this earth, you can serve and do something with your life. So you're not only, as you've said, with your acronym, it's not, you're not only elevating yourself or your family or your immediate circle, but there's more and more people that you can elevate when you actually do have a higher sense of purpose.
Yeah, I think that was the hardest thing for me. Um, I kept trying to find my why. I kept understanding that it was a thing, even. I just wanted to be happy, but I couldn't let myself be happy. I had to stay on this train of, yeah, but I need to get to these goals and I haven't reached my goal yet, which was money for me, because I thought in order to be happy, I had to be able to afford not to work again,
Mm.
because I hated my work. I was miserable. And I woke up every day dreading getting up, dreading go to work.
Mm.
And I didn't feel like I had any power to change that. I was mired in crippling doubt. And I used to call it the pit of despair, and I dwelled there for a long time, not
Mm.
knowing how to get out. And I think one of the dangers of find your purpose, find your why can be when you don't know how to do that
Yeah.
because you have no role models for that. So I got really stuck there trying to find the answers to that, thinking that I had to have the answer. I had to have the next goal in mind in order to move forward, or I was going to make a lot of mistakes and have to backtrack and lose all this time getting there. Um, so that can be a real danger with that.
How did you get out of that, you said, pit of despair? Because yeah, some people actually do get stuck for a long time, and they do need help in terms of getting out of there. It's not easy. You can't just stay there. It can be quite just not necessarily comfortable, because it's uncomfortable to be there, but it's more comfortable to just not do anything than try to do something, if that makes sense. So for some
Hmm.
people, they get stuck there. So what changed for you? How did you turn it around?
So I definitely connect with, it's painful to be there, but it's the pain that you know versus the pain that you don't know,
Mm,
or the fear of failure. And I didn't even know it was a fear of failure. For me, it was a fear of not making the right, perfect decision for the next thing, because my livelihood depended on this decision being the right one
yeah.
if I was going to leave my industry and start over from scratch. And I had to find a way to disprove that myth. I don't have to start over from scratch. I don't have to make a giant leap in order to make huge changes in my life. Um, the first thing I had to do to get out of that pit was just get creative and feel the emotions and allow the emotions to come to the surface, because
To
I was
recognize it.
really, really good. Yeah, I was so good at stuffing my emotions down and getting busy and achieving. I had done it my entire life. And here I was not knowing how to do it because I didn't have something to focus on, because that's what drove my entire life. Having something to focus on, a goal to go get, and I got it. I could achieve anything I set my mind to. I couldn't set my mind to the next thing. Um, I just didn't know what I was doing when I was addressing my emotions. I'd never heard of mental health. I thought mental health and emotional health was for people that were really mentally ill, like a
Mm,
bipolar disease or
mm,
schizophrenia. Um, and for me, a creative outlet was everything to me, everything I needed. And, I have a lot of different creative outlets and a lot of different hobbies and interests. And I turned to songwriting because that's where I could pull the emotions and the thoughts swimming around in my head and give voice to them. And
mm.
I've learned over time that you can defeat shame if you voice
Yeah.
and say it out loud. And I never heard of these concepts before. And that's actually what was happening. I just didn't know it. So the first step for me was putting words to the feelings that I felt.
Mm.
And I love songwriting.
So
So
it's
I
not
just
too
did it.
abstract anymore. First, you became aware, you acknowledged your thoughts, you
Hmm.
acknowledged your feelings, and now you're putting words. It becomes more tangible almost. Words make it real, and now you can do something about it. I love the
Yeah.
creativity bit, because I guess for a lot of left brain, very logical structured people, this is not, talking about feelings, talking about your thoughts, this is not something that we usually do. But you
No.
need to have the balance, right? You need to have the balance. So for you, songwriting, were you naturally inclined to write songs?
um, I had always wanted to, and thinking that I had to know how to do it, to start. But back in probably high school, I used to write these non rhyming prose kind of poetry views of their stories. And I just did it for fun when I was bored in class.
Hmm.
Spontaneously, I was writing about my friends broken, they have broken heart. Their boyfriend broke up with them. So I would write about it in an imagery kind of way, imagining their life with a bunch of simile or metaphor or things that weren't necessarily concrete, some abstract concept. And I would just give it to them. And then I started writing a type of poetry, not your traditional with iambic pentameter or anything, but I called it poetry. I didn't know what else to call it. And I wrote it in our local newspaper, and I would publish it every week. And um,
Ah.
Yeah, and I never really connected that with my wish to do songwriting. My hobby in my adult life has been ballet, and that's a different kind of expression that wasn't quite working for for this other piece of me. I just had to get that anger and sorrow and grief out, and it just kind of happened by accident. But I think it was an accumulation of my love of bringing a concept that's not concrete
Mm.
into this magical world.
Yeah.
And then my love of music and movement. I mean, I'm all about movement, everything I do. So,
So there's a creative
yeah.
outlet there, and you're actually able to express your thoughts, so to be able to express your feelings. So is that still part of the Elevate in Diva, or are we, what is V and what is A?
Yes, creativity is an underlying value for me personally. And for so many people I talk to, I believe everybody is creative, but we don't always know how to bring that creativity into our work. So, how this is paralleled for me in my business is sitting with your feelings and feeling them and putting words to them, and then letting go that you have to have the answer. Um, so, when we take something from feeling to belief and we challenge those beliefs, we ask ourselves different questions.
Mm.
Instead of, I don't know what to do, my business is on the rocks because we're in this national crisis or this world, excuse me, world crisis. What am I going to do? How am I going to respond? And I think if we change that question to, how do I wish I could respond?
Mm.
What's important to my people? How do I? So instead of a what do I do, it's,
How?
well, I want this. How do I do it? Um, and then that way of moving through the stages takes you into the V and then the A. So V is vision. It is a really old verb, but most of us use envision now. So
Mm.
if you're a stickler for making sure acronyms follow a pattern where they're all verbs, hey, let me go on that vision one. We'll just say envision. um, so if you can use your imagination to visualize this world that doesn't yet exist yet,
Mm.
it could be an ideal that you want to see changed in the world. Maybe you're for women's rights and human dignity. But when you're stuck in that place of despair, you can't think of other people. You can't think beyond yourself, beyond tomorrow, beyond this kind of hazy glass that stands
Mm.
between you and your loved ones. Um, so, envisioning a most perfect world may not resonate with you yet. It may be envisioning what you wish to feel, and that brings you back into that creative space.
Mm.
How do I feel right now? How do I want to feel? And then you can start to take that vision bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you're looking to make a change in the world, you get to define if that world means my world right here in front of me, and then the world I create for my family,
And
and
expand.
looking at, and then expand from there. So, vision for me is about engaging your imagination and allowing yourself to go wild with it. And this is the hardest part. And that's where Elevate comes into play with your vision, not only elevating yourself and others, you're elevating your vision, what you will allow yourself to believe is real. And that takes you right back into that D. Do I deserve to believe that my life can be different? Do I deserve to believe that I can want a beautiful life just like she has and he has and they have? We say, oh, it's not possible for me, but it's possible for them. Or,
Mm.
well, yes, that is possible to be a pop star and super rich, but not for me.
Mm.
Um, right? They are somehow luckier. They are somehow trust fund baby and rich. But that's not true. We can find
Mm.
examples of rich people who are
Crash.
just as much in despair as
Mm.
anybody else. And we can find poor people who find a way to make it in the world in a dream career. And it doesn't have to be a pop star or something fantastical. It can be everyday life and wanting to feel successful and feel happy.
Yeah, and when it
We
comes to
forget.
success, you have different definitions of success as well. And I love this bit about the vision because you're actually encouraging to people to imagine what is possible. It's free. You can actually do that. No one is going to stop you from envisioning
Yeah.
an ideal future. And for, with what you suggested, to shift the question to how, when you actually know what your ideal is, the next question is how. How are you going to get
Hmm.
there? And it makes it a bit more tangible, because yes, you can dream all you want. You have to imagine first what that ideal vision is, but asking the question how, it makes it a little bit more real, and you can make it
Yeah.
happen. But again, it's rooted to the, you have to believe the belief has to be there as well. If you're just dreaming and think that this is just a dream, it's not going to happen, then yeah, then so be it. If that's what you think, then that's
Yeah.
what it's going to be. So
Yeah. I think it's detrimental when you stop dreaming. Yeah.
yeah, that's actually one of the things that I teach in my books. Yeah, I have like the psychology in your life series, and we have all sorts of visualization exercises in the book. Particularly if you are stuck in that position where, you are in the, as you've said, your pit of despair. How you turn it around is try to imagine what it's like on the other side, as when you picture your ideal and feel as if it is real, you'll have that desire to actually get there, and do something about it, but you need to see it first. And then you need to believe that you can actually make it happen. So with your
Oh,
diva,
that's critical.
what is the A bit? What is the A?
So the A is fun. I stand, the word for me is amplify,
Mm-hmm.
but it also stands for action
I
and
know.
achievement. And there are so many things that you need to do to make that vision real, and to take that deserving and that feeling that you really wish for and make it true. So it's all about amplifying. And this is where you start to turn it outward. How do you take the message that you want and tell other people about it? How do you affect someone else's life with it? How do you affect your own life with it? For me, it was simple. I just wanted to be happy. And I thought changing jobs would make me happy, or I thought accumulation of something would make me happy. And that's not to say that I didn't believe that happiness didn't come from money. I knew that, but that doesn't mean I knew how to implement it in my life. Um, so Amplify can be as simple as, what action can I do today just to make myself know what joy feels like? I forgot. I was totally disconnected from joy. I was mired in misery and stress and anxiety, and my health was failing. I had bone loss, and I'm a very healthy viral person, and I have bone loss, and I have 26 ulcers in my mouth, and I was angry and so mean to my children, and I was alienating myself from my husband and my friends, and I was out of control. And that is scary, especially when you have a business to run. I had 75 employees, and I had all of these things, irons in the fire, all of these dreams I wish I could do and didn't believe it was possible. And I carried this with me into my next two work life reincarnations. I don't know, that's not the right word, but
Mm.
transitions. When I became a corporate executive in a Fortune 500, I carried that feeling with me without knowing it. And gosh, I'm surprised my team showed up. I was so stressed out all the time, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to
Mm.
be this leader, trying to play this role that I thought everyone wanted me to play. And I didn't know how to be myself. I didn't even know who I was. Um, I didn't know how to feel joy. And, you know, amplifying that is what message do you want for your own life? How do you see that becoming a reality, a possible type of reality? Transitioning that from impossible to possible for other people to maybe it's probable for me. Let me
Mm.
start exploring. And so, amplify, act, explore, just take a baby step and and learn how not to go all in. I was searching for the right answer, and so many
Mm.
people are searching for the right answer. So many
There's
people are
no right
searching for the
answer,
goal.
is there? It's
No,
you
and
just keep going and
no.
learn as you go.
Yeah, and that's really hard for an overachiever, That's really
Mm.
hard for someone that's so bent on getting to the next
Getting it
point so
and getting
they
it
can be
right.
happy.
Getting it right the first time.
Yeah, I've had to learn how to slow down to speed up,
Mm.
how to take uncalculated actions. Some people call them imperfect action.
Mm.
For me, every action had to be, I had to see where it could go before I would take it. And I've been experimenting and playing and having fun and expressing my real personality at work. I mean, heck, even my hair is curly, but it wasn't curly at work for years because I
Wow.
didn't think it fit into the role. Right? There are so many things that we have to know that we're doing so that we can do something else.
And now you with in terms of the intuition, you said that you actually did tap into your intuition and change the
Yeah.
direction of your business from a high achiever. I'm guessing intuition wasn't really your first,
No.
that's not like you came out and you just follow your intuition all the time. Is this something new to you? And what sparked you to start following your intuition?
Gosh, you are right. Intuition or instinct or gut is not something I trusted.
Did you have like a pros
Would
and
get
cons
one,
list?
I would get an inkling, pros and cons. I get an inkling and then I go test it out with everybody I knew,
Yeah.
like all the mentors, all the people, all the friends, whether they were qualified or not. Um, I would ask them. And so it all started with redefining who I shared those kinds of things with and redefining my network of people to instead of just be a network of mentors that I happened along when in my career or in the industry or in my private life, I decided to be determined and I'm going to build my network of positive support people,
Mm-hmm.
powerful people who can support me with encouragement to push beyond what I think is possible. They can support me with navigating the pitfalls. So there's one thing to say, yeah, you can do it. And there's another thing to say, let me help you with your strategy. Let me help you navigate the pitfalls.
Mm.
And let me do so in a way that is surrounding you with love and
Support.
kindness
Yeah.
and power. Um, Power and strength, right? Power not in the terms of the egotistical power, but how do I enable you and help you with real concrete things? And that's what I like to do with people. I love ideas. I love playing with ideas, playing with possible, and showing people this is how you think bigger. This is something you didn't consider before. So when I look at strategy, I look at it very differently now because there's this whole new piece, this intuition and this mind body connection that is such a foreign concept. I'm a scientific kind of person.
Mm.
Show me the science behind that,
Evidence base.
evidence based. And now I'm looking to bring this magical woo stuff into my life and into my business decision making. Are you kidding me? That has
Mm.
no place in business. And I'm challenging that, saying, no, we can approach business from a very different place in a very different way. And what if business can be born out of a place of joy?
Yeah.
And what if we can tap into that? So I just had people encourage me to listen and to connect with the wisdom that I have inside. And I was in denial that I was smart enough, even though I'm smart, right? Um, or at least I believe I am, right?
But
um,
it is
yeah.
fascinating how you actually operate in a certain way. And then there are these moments in our lives that
Yeah.
encourages us to try to balance it, not necessarily give up, evidence base and data and so on, but also try to respect and acknowledge your intuition. I think for a lot of successful business people, they have this gut feeling, they can just sense something that this is gonna be great. They can't really put their finger on it, but they just can sense it and they follow that intuition, without really having the evidence in front of them yet, because it's just about to happen. Does that make sense?
Um, it does, but I don't know that we see that happening. I don't know that we are, as people that are outside of that person's space, that sphere. I don't see that. I don't think we get to see that in action. So people will say, "Oh, I just had this gut feeling and it worked out, yay!"
Mm,
But putting it into action in your own life and believing that's actually what happened is difficult when you've never done it. You mentioned a key word there, which is evidence. Um, for me, I have to go and prove to myself that what I'm thinking, like a negative fear or an unsurety, or if I have this spark of an idea, and my first instinct is to go make sure it's like okay with somebody else. Is this a reality? Is this true? Can this happen? And I've had to stop doing that and say, what do I think? What do I want to do? Am I expanding toward it or am I contracting away from it? Is it a real caution that I need to take? And how can I pay attention to that? So for me, intuition is just about paying attention to that spidey sense,
mm,
something feels agitative to my body. Is it a fear of, ooh, this feels exciting and it's unknown. I can't wait to go do it, but I'm afraid? Or is this, ooh, my red flags are going up and I might
I'm
want
not
this
sure.
opportunity, but
Mm,
it's not right. And which way do I want to go? So the way I use it every day is I find evidence where I've been successful or someone else has been successful in doing this thing that I don't think can happen. And then I check in every day as well in just everyday things like my activities. I'm doing a series of live streaming and I've never gone on camera. I've never been in social. I've never shot a video, much less live. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I know I want to do it. I want to get my
mm.
message out. And so I've challenged myself during this um, epidemic that we're going through to go live every single day. And I don't know how it's going to go. And I don't know if it's going to be good. And I don't know if
But you
anyone's going to
just
want to
get
watch
on
it.
with it.
I just decided to do it because it felt like the right thing and it felt fun. And it's one of the first times that I've done something where it wasn't connected to revenue or a paid offering or anything else. And it feels amazing and energizing. And I use it every day. I learn something new about myself. And I use that in my real job, I use that in my everyday work. I use that when I'm helping my entrepreneurs and saying, here's how we're going to deal with this crisis today. And here's how we're going to take care of ourselves while we do it so that you can be creative. And it's really just giving people permission to be mindful and calm and they're a real person too, not just a leader that everyone looks up to. They get to be taken care of too, and I'm going to take care of you.
Mm,
So
wonderful. Well, Tori, if you have any final message to all of our viewers today, if there's a message about intuition and how you use intuition in your business, what would it be? What's your message to them?
that it's not scary and it doesn't mean that you take this giant uncalculated risk. It just means do what feels right in that moment and trust that you're going to figure it out as you go. Um, it can be something simple that you can use every single day.
Wonderful. And
Um,
if people want to reach out and connect with you, where can they find you?
So they can find all of my social links and everything from my website, which is toriboats.com. I will tell you, I'm a big experimenter. So it is a landing page at the moment, at today on what is it, March 26, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But it's evolving. I've got a quiz coming out, and that quiz will help you figure out where you're stuck. And it uses some characters that I came up with to help illustrate where you might be dwelling, whether it's in the deserving piece or just believing that you can do it or taking an action. So that's in the works, and I'm super, super excited about it. I am actually Tori Boats on all social. I'm experimenting with Facebook right now. I'm on LinkedIn, which is also Tori Boats. But if they want to stay updated on where I am and what I'm doing in the future, all the free things I'll be putting out and the quiz, they can head on over to toriboats.com. And that's Toriboats.com.
Awesome. Well, a lot of stuff happening for you. And yeah, I think, your quiz, you're putting in the creativity as well with all the characters and stuff. So I think that would be
Yeah.
quite interesting. I'll have a look at it myself when it's up and running. So
Yay.
everyone, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for your time and for sharing your expertise with us today, Tori. And for everyone who's watching, I hope you found value from this conversation today. I know that we've been talking about intuition over the past couple of conversations, but this time, it's related to business. It's quite unusual to talk about intuition in business, but we got it
Yes.
today. And I found that you and I hope that you found value from our conversation today. Anyway, take care, everyone, and we'll catch up again next time for another purposeful conversations with Emmy here in the Pami Code Facebook group. Until then, take care and bye for now. Bye.
Bye.